We are back with the final match of the day. We have another Warrior versus Mage in the form of Flurry versus Tom. And so far, yes, slightly different lists for the Warriors, but Warriors are 2-0 versus Mage today.
That's true. It's been pretty dominant so far, even with Surrender saying he thinks he's unfavored against the Mage in the previous series. However, this last one is going to be another Bomb Warrior, a little bit more even, I would say, than the Control Warrior, even if the Mage does feel slightly favored. And again, I would say pretty standard stuff, all things considered. The one Town Crier is something I'm not personally a fan of. I can definitely understand the reasoning for double Rover over double Crier, especially with Snip Snap just put in, being able to go a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, it's just an extra minion that just helps with that synergy and makes Snip Snap feel good no matter what turn you're playing in it. Yeah. We can check out Tom's list. I will just have a quick note though. The tertiary list for Flurry, so the one he's probably going to change to in game number 2, is the usual BGHs, the Super Colliders, and one more Omega Devastator.
Yep.
Looking at Tom's Mage list though, does have the Acidic Swampus in the primary list, which is a nice little extra spice to help deal with even just game 1. And they're going to help maybe take down some of those weapons. But then outside of that, it's fairly standard again with the double Rebel Bouncer. Me and Derek have talked enough this weekend about how much we're not a huge fan of that card, but I guess it's also respective of what you think your opponent's going to bring. Because going against Flurry, a lot of the time you probably expect Rogue, and maybe the idea is Rebel Bouncer does a bit of a better job versus Rogue, which I can get behind.
Yeah, I'd say this is a relatively anti-Rogue primary. The Acidic Swampus, while decent, as you said, against Warrior, generally becomes a lot better in games 2 and 3. When Super Colliders get substituted in, killing off a Wrench Caliber is reasonable with an Ooze. I would say generally not quite powerful enough to deserve a spot in the 30-card deck list. So I would say overall, I think in the starting game, I'd still give just about the advantage to Tom on the Mage. I think the Bomb Warrior can struggle with dealing with enough of the threats, even though this is a relatively light build from Tom, unless we see the aggressive Bomb Warrior star, as we've already come to know and love from Flurry.
Yeah, and funnily enough, I'll just quickly touch on the list that Tom will probably also change to, is because he's already playing a Swampooze, he doesn't have to make room for one, so he's adding a Harrison, which is fine, the Antonidas, 2 Astromancers, but biggest for me is the Luna's Pocket Galaxy. He gets to add in, maybe because he doesn't need to add in that Ooze, he has that one extra flex spot to use, and I like it, which means I think I would even lean maybe even further towards the Mage, because if you would imagine Mage is slightly favored, so Tom should win game 1. And then because he has these kind of power plays that even with the Super Colliders, well, if you go for a cheap Antonidas or a lot of just cheap consistent minions, then suddenly maybe that's just enough to overpower the Warrior anyway.
I am honestly so torn on Luna's Pocket Galaxy. There are so many players that I respect on both sides of the debate that I can't make my mind up. We see players like Orange and Ball Control in the European Grandmasters who are big fans of it. They Boar submitted the Mage this week to Grandmasters. He put in Luna's Pocket Galaxy. Orange tweeting out he thinks you always play it. It almost feels better than Skull of the Minari, if you can think back to the Q-Block days with the oppressive power of Skull of the Minari. But then on the other side, Bosden saying he doesn't want to spend 5 mana to do nothing in his Mage decks. I believe APX Void as well, the Mage God, saying that generally he doesn't think it's worth it in Mage. There's better stuff you can do with your mana.
Favorite times in Hearthstone when pros cannot agree on something is
I
just
agree.
the best.
I agree.
It's like, well, if you guys don't know, yeah, we don't know either.
Oh, you like it for the excuse of incompetence?
I like it because it alludes to the game, and also the game just being difficult to try and master, and a great spot. But also I enjoy the fact that, well, if these guys don't know, I'm just going to pick one, and I'm not overly wrong, because I can just quote one of the players that says I'm right.
Yes. As you can see there, before we get too heavily into the game, both of these players at 5 and 6. Again, in Division A, pretty much all the players after their first game were at 5 and 6, aside from the outliers, Staz and Alutem, and also Surrender after his first game. But it's very important this game, with only 1 week left before we head to playoffs, to be picking up these victories to sneak into that 3rd place spot.
Yeah, long past the days in the early parts of GM where I was saying, well, you know what, if you lose a couple of games early on, it's all right, you've got plenty of time. Well, we're here now. It's like the time has happened. We have moved forward, and there is only 1 week additional to this one match left before playoff spots get decided.
However, while we have been talking about standings, Flurry has already made a very important play. Hero Power Coin Shield Slam is the kind of the bootleg answer to Apprentice on 2, now that the Weapons Project has all but disappeared from most of the Bomb Warrior lists. And it would have gone very, very badly for him had he not done that with the Banana Buffoon and the Bananas. It's going to have been a super aggressive start for Tom.
Yeah, and I feel like this has become, it's one of the nuances in the matchup, and maybe even just in Bomb Warrior as a whole, it's become more and more common, is that early shield slam, just straight away. I feel like we've seen shield slams like that more this weekend than I maybe have in the past year.
Yes.
Of just turn 2/3 shield slams. And Derek was making some weird gestures and looking at me funny, so go on, your turn to speak.
An out-of-body experience at the pickup of that Sorcerer's Apprentice there. That was insane! This was absolutely mental for Tom. His first one was killed off by Flurry in what I would say was a very astute play of going for Hero Power Coin Shield Slam. Didn't matter though, tom60229, like the absolute madman he is, just top decks it anyway, and is able to get, what is this, 4 spells now?
Ooh.
And gets a Power of Creation off of the Tome of Intellect. Who is this man?
Previous world champion, tom60229. And as you can see, he's just pretty calm about this anyway. He's just like, no, this is just how I play.
It is
But
indeed.
is anything unexpected from the player who kept UI in his opening hand of his world championship game? Are you shocked anymore, Derek? Because I'm not.
Nothing can shock me. That is, in fact, the only thing he's ever done in his life.
Yes. And there's a great mug to drink out of as well. Murloc.
It is a very good point.
Like the music!
It's in terms of the tier list of Hearthstone mugs while GM is going on. Tom takes second. Orange takes #1 in my opinion with his huge tankard. I have the same one and I love it.
Interesting. I would have put Orange second. As Astro Rift gets played now, and okay, those are decent minions, not too bad. But yeah, my issue with the mug, because I also have that tankard,
It's a great
is that I don't use it to drink from. It's just
Really?
like a decorative piece, and because I don't drink from it, I do not rate it as a drinking utensil.
Horrendous misplay, my friend.
Why?
Do you have Slap's top of mug? Do you have any idea how much tea this bad boy can fit in?
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yes. I think my issue is now, because I've had it for so long, it's just been on my shelf looking pretty. I just imagine even if I cleaned it, it would have dust in it, so I just can't put a drink in it anymore. But yeah, I'll take your word for it. But back to this game though, the Snip Snap onto the Rover, yet another common play now that we see Snip Snap in Warrior. And it creates just an additional minion for Warrior to play this aggressive style. It's kind of sick.
It's kind of a difficult balance for Flurry with how he anticipates the next few turns going. Because if he anticipates that a brawl will be necessary, he's going to want to slow down a little bit on minion development because he doesn't have that much to follow up with afterwards. I would say, however, based on Tom's plays so far, Flurry can be... I think he's making the right play, of playing more aggressively onto the board. He doesn't want to just be chipped down turn after turn. He wants to force Tom to play, if he has it, a big giant play, then he brawls.
And also I think there's a reasonable read that there just isn't a giant there.
Yes,
because it's turn 7, come on.
I agree.
We saw Mage doing things on turn 4.
There is a good... What he will not be able to account for, however, is the power O creation.
I think I'd like the double minion this turn as opposed to the Dynamatic Armor. Or maybe even the weapon instead.
now?
Keep the Militia Commander for more damage from hand to beat down giants if they happen to appear. And yeah, this seems okay. Saves the health on the Dynamatic as well. Takes it to face, mainly just saying, okay, Tom, if your hand's not great, if you have 2 mana to float, you don't get to just ping my 3 attack minion off the board.
It's also, I mean, for Flurry, as it currently stands, it's worth saying that this hand on its own absolutely does not win him the game. He is buying himself time until he gets to the actual powerhouse cards of Omega Assembly and Dr. Boom.
Yeah,
Either Dr. Boom, I would say, at this point. And I think, you know, the best way he can buy himself time is to play as aggressively as possible. You just push your opponent out of the board every single turn. And even though it's very, very unlikely to deliver a lethal anytime soon, it's the play that buys him the highest amount of time, and so I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, and it rings out every drop of value from the minions too, because what Flurry doesn't have cards, what he does have is health.
Yeah.
So you use health to get more out of your cards. That's how Hearthstone works a lot of the time. That's a good pickup.
This turn overall for Flurry is insane. I didn't think his next turn would be looking anywhere near as good as this. But Tom, by just throwing down the Sea Giant, leaves himself so vulnerable to the Dynamatic. So vulnerable.
So I'm going to ask you a question. Why not Power of Creation there? Is it purely the Khadgar in hand?
That's definitely part of it. I think it's just like the average 6-drop you summon, one of them is likely to die to the 2 minions on board anyway.
Light the fuses!
But you summon the same one.
Yeah.
It's the same one twice.
Right, well, I mean, one of the two is
Oh,
is
sorry,
likely to
right.
die.
I thought you meant you get one weak one and one
Oh,
strong.
no,
I was
no.
like, wait, that's how Power... I'm pretty sure that's not right.
One of the two identical
Okay.
copies.
Yeah, and Tom winning on number of cards in hand, but not in any other way right now. As on board, Flurry's making a good stride. Frost Nova is going to buy Tom some time, but now Flurry's starting to get, Booms in hand. There's Omega Assembly for next turn.
Right. And now is the time, in my opinion, for Flurry to take a bit of a chill.
Take the foot off the gas.
Exactly. He's put forward a lot of pressure. Tom, with this play, I think this is definitely starting to put the fear of the fear of something, right?
Cheese.
Of Khadgar Conjurer's Calling, or just Conjurer's Calling, or whatever. Flurry, however, massively disagrees. He is turning this up to 11.
Yeah, I actually really like this play.
Really? Okay.
Because there's so much damage on the board, and he can discover mechs next turn with Assembly. What turn does Tom make that at worst Flurry can't just deal with? At worst.
Right, well, he can always deal with the board on the following turn with Brawl. My point was that he can deal with the minion... What? He can deal with the minion with Brawl and keep the Blastmaster Boom in hand, was the point I was going to make.
What even happens now?
What even happens is the question.
Can he conjure as one of his minions? Is that ever worth? Because surely, so right now, the double Baron Geddon is worse for Tom than it is for Flurry.
Is it? Flurry's entire board dies. I guess Tom's board kind of
A
dies
lot
as
of
well.
Tom's
Yeah.
board dies too, and Flurry has Brawl?
But then none of the damage is going to Tom's face, which is really bad for Flurry. Flurry wanted all these boombots headed face.
Still might. 12 to face. You're like, whoa. This is doing 4 damage to Tom as well.
Oh, the spell damage brings it down to... He can pick the face as well. It's pretty cute. But either way, complete board wipe for Flurry and for Tom. I think he wants the minions to soak the damage here.
Oh,
And they do very effectively as well. And I guess this still baits out a Brawl.
Brawl into Commander, though, is a bit of a get out of jail free card, because what you do have to say for
Yes.
Flurry is you've got to think Tom went not all in, but kind of.
Yes.
Like, that was a big turn for Tom.
Oh, this was so bad for Flurry compared to how bad it was for Tom. It still baits out the Brawl, but none of the boombots got to go face.
Flurry's got stuff, though.
Yeah, it's fine.
I mean, maybe even can he actually just not play the Militia Commander this turn? And play
Steel
something
Rage,
else?
right? Steel Rage is just better. Oh, well, I mean, Steel Rage is just worse, so you play it when it dies.
The better play because it's bad.
Yes, exactly.
Ooh. Oh.
Wow, that is one of the worst power creations I've ever seen.
And Flurry has to quickly go through his mind and go, he picked that?
Yes.
I think there's only 2 minions, other minions it could have been.
Defend the gates!
I think they're bottom 3. 6 drops, right?
Defend the
2
gates!
3/3s and a 4/4?
There's got to be something worse. There's some worse. But yes, those are definitely some worse. Meteorologist and the Arcanal Sword come up obviously a lot higher of percentage of the time due to it being Discover and the class-weighted bonus from Discover.
Tom's one bomb away from a bad time right now. Oh, Nova.
He's getting real close, and Flurry can absolutely punish this low-tempo turn from Tom.
Jet click can heal,
That's true.
but not for a lot. And there is a very large boom reap. Oh, for none. He can play this and then just drop the Goblin Bomb. Oh, sorry, the Goblin Bomb. The Clockwork Goblin to create a bomb. Apologies.
Yeah,
I like it. Just hard no. Just get something else on the board. Don't let Tom heal, and put him as close a range as any bombs as possible.
I don't mind the Pinata instead of the Goblin. I think it's about
It's not a massive issue. Yeah.
It's very unlikely
I think
to deliver lethal
not
anyway.
heal is the biggest part of that
Yes.
turn.
Yes. For certain. As now for Tom, Sea Giant Frost Nova, not even a possibility. Does he just have to go Arcane Intellect? Yes, he does. Or he's dead. Oh, that's such an important draw.
Can he not play Ziliax this turn?
Oh yeah, can you go Banana Buffoon Frost Nova and then next turn like Ziliax double Banana and then Conjurer's Calling perhaps even? Because getting more heal off of Ziliax is pretty big.
It is, but not dying to 2 bombs is pretty big too.
It's really close actually.
Also, funnily enough, if you trade into the Pinata, you actually give Flurry a random legend that who knows what at this point, right?
Unity, precision, perfection.
I think
Okay.
that was close.
Whoa!
It's always Gunspire, dude. However, Gunspire is not nearly as bad as it usually is here. Just the fact that Warpath exists actually makes it pretty nuts.
Ruin, despair, destruction.
Okay.
That ain't bad.
I wonder whether that was always played.
It puts so much stats on.
Would Omega Assembly not most of the time?
Not as much as this.
Omega Assembly Gunspire?
Because this pushes damage to face almost guaranteed anyway, right? Because you get to push the rush
Sure,
into
sure.
the Ziliax and then push face.
Oh, Shield Slam's not bad either, just as can remove potentially some taunts, small ones that come up.
Oh my god, that was like the one way that Tom took this game, was by making a counter push with Giant Frost Nova. I think he actually set this up beautifully. Holding onto the Frost Nova was actually pretty crucial, I think. I think that was definitely the way to play it. Ziliax last turn, Giant Frost Nova this turn.
It's the old freeze
But-
range thing, right? If the
yeah.
Nova doesn't propel you forward in the game, you shouldn't play it
Yes.
most of the time.
Or if, unless you die.
Yeah.
But this is the dream now for Flurry. He just needs to consider... Oh, he doesn't actually have to play the Omega Devastator. We could see Dynamatic Hero Power Shield Slam to clear off as well.
Most importantly,
What
the
now?
potential of Gunspire Shield Slam. For lethal. Challenge. Given Flurry.
Challenge. Tom's accepted.
Alright, Flurry.
And this is the play that leaves him the most likely to deal with whatever Tom goes down next turn.
Yeah, 10's a
So I
big
think I
number,
like it,
and if you can save that number and kill a big guy without using that, then yes.
Tom now left in the position where he needs to find a miracle off of Conjurer's Calling. I don't think there are any minions that can do it on the 10 mana slot,
Is ours.
Oh, yeah.
so he digs
Yeah.
instead. Has to be Frost Nova. Right.
Behold the tools of creation.
Not that.
Behold the
Oh.
tools of
And not
creation. Behold the tools of creation.
Oh.
And that? So,
Yeah, I mean, it keeps him alive on board
Behold the
just.
For now.
tools of creation.
But that's going to have to do, as Flurry is able to take game 1 here. Warriors still showing the dominance against Mage, despite a lot of popular belief here. Although, I mean, it so often seems like at the moment that if you're a Warrior player, you think Warrior's favoured. If you're a Mage player, you think Mage is favoured.
or if you
because it
surrender,
turns...
you think the opposite.
Oh, I guess so. I guess in Surrender has to respect his opponents, but Pretty big win there for Flurry, and a very convincing one as well, I think. Even though there was some chance for Tom to bring that back at the end with his very well-timed gambit with the Frost Nova and the Mountain Giant, I think overall Flurry had the right idea there and had it all under control for a long time.
He did, and again, like we said, Warrior's doing well so far, whether it's control or bomb versus Mage, and I guess this is going to edge very quickly towards the final say, at least of this week of Grandmasters. We're going to give the guys a minute to decide what deck they are going to maybe switch to, probably switch to, but we're going to find out after this. We'll be right back.
One night, I was called on to scry. But what is this symbol I spy? It's my own crystal ball. Yes, I'll answer the call. And the others will come by and by. That's right. We be calling a team in. The masters of plotting and scheming. By this candle a-glowing, I surely be knowing whose gold will be once more a-gleaming. The cards see a heart that is stony, and a totem that's all kinda bony. This witch in such danger will soon be no stranger, 'cause she's gonna be our new crony. We welcome you into this room, and we promise your enemies doom. Just one more who's coming. The last one I summon is a fella who makes things go boom.
So you're probably wondering why I gathered you here. Let me take a moment and break it down. We've been given black eyes by the good guys. Oh, but that's about to change. Those meddlesome mortals who've mocked up our missions will finally feel some of our pain. You see, I have a devious plan that requires a demonstrative fist, and each of you will have your dreams come true as a fiendish finger of peace. What? All right. Let me try this again. Alone all our dreams went. Kaboom! Yes, but united we'll take all the candles. No fish bigger.
I'm seeing what you want to do.
Let me hear it.
We'll come together so we can dismantle.
Now here's the plot to capture your greed and intrigue. We'll take Dalaran for all that it's got. As we form an evil league.
We are back in the match of Flurry versus tom60229. Flurry currently leading 1-0 with a pretty good Warrior play, and it's going to come down to this question that I feel has been asked many, many times throughout GM. But after game one,
Yes.
whose counter deck is better? Because there is literally a Mage versus Warrior counter deck for Tom that he's going to switch to, and then there's Flurry's Warrior to beat Mage he's going to switch to. So it's less about the generalized matchup and more about, for me, a little bit, whose 5 cards beats the other person's 5 cards.
I think generally I'm coming to the opinion that a very well-teched Bomb Warrior should be able to take the advantage over Mage just due to the raw power of Super Colliders, if you can find them in time. But for tom60229 with his Luminous Pocket Galaxy in his Mage, I think that could be the little bit of spicy tech to pull him through. But taking a look, I believe, Flurry's deck list first on the Warrior, we can see what he's got in there. Another Devastator, 2 BGHs, 2 Super Colliders, pretty standard stuff in terms of countering the Mages.
Yeah, nice and simple. And when you look at the losses and, you know, when you look at Dynamatic, it kind of naturally feels bad because as a player who's played Warrior, you understand the power level of that card in isolation. But when you realize it's being swapped for other 5 drops that kill Giants, you're like, no, okay. And then especially the big one for me, the Harrison is just a raw card game in the matchup. So it's literally just a +1 useful card and -1 just almost useless card.
Yeah, I can't remember if I talked about this during Flurry's last game, but I actually really don't like taking out the snip snap against
Oh, you
the
did?
Mage.
Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, I think it's just it opens up too much possibilities to go for aggression turn 3, or even turn 2 if you coin it out on the Eternium Rover. And I think at any point in the game, being able to magnetize on for more aggression should not be underestimated against Mage. I would like to be seeing another card mulligan, maybe the Spellbreaker, or just 4 cards taken out. I think 4 cards taken out is perfectly good enough. 1 BGH should be able to get the job done, I think, most of the time.
Okay, let's take a look at Tom's list and see what he has swapped Aruni to. There is the Lunar Pocket Galaxy of the secondary deck, along with the Harrison Jones to go hand in hand with the Swampoos. It's already in his main deck. And then there's the Archmage Antonidas and the double Astromancer. And not only is Archmage Antonidas and double Astromancer good or better versus Warrior than some of the other cards that have been removed, but it's also just in combination with Lunar's Pocket Galaxy, you can sometimes just punch through brawls. You can go wide, get brawled, go wide, get brawled, go wide, because the means are so much cheaper. You don't have to worry about, oh, do I have enough mana to go Giant Conjurers or so on and so on. You can even go sometimes very wide because Mounted Giants also become 0 mana as long as you have any cards.
I think that's the big thing, is that the Warrior has so much removal if you're playing out your cards a couple at a time. Super Glider is devastatingly powerful against the Mage because they generally are only playing 2, maybe 3 big minions at a time. If you just turbo out every threat and just go all in right from the get-go with the Lunar's Pocket Galaxy, they only have 2 brawls. They probably only draw 1 in the early game anyway. And I think that's one of the best ways that you can counteract the Warrior, is just putting everything on the table, saying if you've got the answers, you win. You probably don't, and I'm going to take the game.
And this is we danced past mulligans there, but we can see the outcomes anyway. But I was just going to talk about mulligans for a second, because if you have or have the option to get or keep Lunar's Pocket Galaxy, it can alter the way you play as well, because I personally like to keep cards like that until after I've played Lunar's Pocket Galaxy, and then yes, it slows down your early game, but it makes your mid-game incredible because you just draw cards that you can then just play out straight away.
And we saw that evinced most perfectly, I think, by Dog in Masters Tour Las Vegas, where he brought his kind of freeze mage, hybrid mage, whatever you want to call it, without the mana cyclones in the early game, relying pretty heavily on Lunar's Pocket Galaxy. And a lot of the time, he would hold on to his card draw effects until after he'd played the Galaxy, and it worked out gorgeously for him.
Yeah, if you change Arcane Intellect to, if you play this past turn 5, you will draw incredible minions, yeah, you'd probably wait till past turn 5.
As would I.
I think Asmodee does like Lunar's Pocket Galaxy as well. And now though, Tom, in the face of this Elic,
it's tough. I mean, the play he's considering right is obviously coin image evocation cyclone. I believe it still keeps him at the point where he can play Giant next turn. It's weak to Warpath, but it slows down the development quite drastically from Flurry. Gets him up perfectly to 9 cards.
My bigger question is it just weaker to Brawl? Like, Flurry's never going to clear this board, and if Tom edges towards Giant soon-ish, then there could be residual minions left over from this turn to make Brawl a little bit better.
I think if you just play Giant and your opponent brawls, you're really happy. Okay. Like a brawl just for effectively 1 Giant in terms of the use of the cards is a fantastic trade for Tom.
And now further questions for Tom. He has double Cone of Cold, which is pretty sweet. So you could buy him some time and maybe wait for Conjur's Calling. But instead, Tom said, no, I'm going to go very, very wide.
Oh, yes.
But only a little bit with power, with just the 1 Giant and more mirror images.
There is now the ability, actually, though, for Flurry to clear the board completely with 2 Warpaths. And I imagine he definitely will.
He even could drop down the Rover afterwards.
Sure.
Or before, depending on how much he values the armor from the Warpaths.
Actually, that's actually not crazy. With the Shield Slam in hand, he might want to get himself in a position where he can deal with the 2nd Giant as well.
Yeah, with just Hero Power Shield Slam.
Although, having said that, he'll have Shield Block hero power, which will bring him up to 7 next turn. He could just trade in the rover anyway. But maybe he'd rather have a 1/1 rover that gained him extra armor than trading in the entire thing. Anyway.
Well, also as well, it means he has the option of not shield blocking, trading the rover in, then hero power shield slam.
I like it. I think it seems silly at first, but I think this is actually in the case. Like, Flurry is only really afraid of Giant on the following turn, and if that does come down, this is just better.
And often as well, we can see it's not the case, but often when a Giant is just played against a deck that can kill it off, so a lot of the time it's because the player has another Giant to go, and they're just like, okay, I'll play this, test the water. If they kill it, I've got another Giant. If they don't kill it, I'll Conjurers.
Yeah.
And we can see that that's actually not the case for Tom, but like you said, it's both worst case scenario and not unexpected. So why not prepare for it?
Tom having to take a couple of turns with very, very low pressure until he can get up to the Astromancer or maybe Rabble Bouncer in the next couple of turns. And that's fantastic news for Flurry, who will very happily, I think, just follow up the next couple of turns, drawing, removing, and setting up to try and survive till turn 10 for an Omega Assembly.
Yeah, and the good thing about as the warrior playing against Mage is once you grab some armor and get on top of the board, you don't often lose it unexpectedly, right? Because none of the minions have charge, and there's not a lot of damage from hand that Mage can do. So once you've got to, you know, that 6, 7, 8 plus armor, you normally keep it, and with Shield Slam already in hand, it means that Flurry can just answer a minion whenever.
And Tom here playing the kind of banana buffoon that you always laugh at, which is a 5-mana 4/4. It's kind of staggering how good Banana Buffoon is when how bad Banana Buffoon is. Like it's if you have to play it like that, it's just so beyond abysmal. But it can just be so mental.
But it's also like good relative to Mountain Giant.
Yes.
Right? You know, if Mountain Giant went out, Banana Buffoon sucks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, exactly. It's all the combinations, right, with the cycling as well.
Sure.
It is just interesting way. I haven't seen it played as the 5-mana 4/4 in quite a while.
Cone of Cold's hero power, and not really the turns Tom wants to make.
Yeah, that was a miserable Cone of Cold.
And Flurry can just keep doing stuff. I like the Elic.
Me too.
Yes, it could die from a generated spell, but it could also hit face, and it makes Tom do things, yeah.
Tom always plays Astromancer here. And if Tom doesn't play Astromancer here, like, exactly, like, how could Flurry possibly lose?
Gruul, the Dragon Slayer.
That's definitely one of the better ones. It will just die, though.
Boom, the Player Slayer.
That's one way of looking at it.
Interesting. What do you make of this? Flurry going for the...
I was surprised
the
with
Omega
this.
Assembly when he could have just shield slammed and played Boom.
How many bombs does he have in the deck? Is it any?
Oh, wait. Am I crossing my game?
There's been so many warrior games
He did not play
today.
Goblin, did he?
I don't think so.
Okay, so there's no bombs.
There's no
Never
bombs.
mind. I'll wind my neck back in. But still, he didn't need to play the Omega Assembly that turn.
Yeah.
He had this turn, except that Safeguard would be an Omega. And you're 2 turns away from getting full value.
He's played Wrench Caliber so far this game. I don't think so.
No. He just did the minion opening, right? There has been a warrior match. At least one warrior in every single match today.
This is our 6th
we
warrior
apologize
match
for sucking, but sometimes we do.
Oh, Tom's still in a miserable position where playing the Giant here feels so bad if it dies. But without a Conjurer's Calling in hand, he can't just do nothing for ages and then hope to go for Khadgar Giant Conjurers.
And look, this is what I was talking about. This armor is so safe for Flurry.
Yeah.
He just, yeah, well, good job. Dead.
I mean, it looks like a pretty easy Safeguard Hero Power Shield Slam right on this turn.
I think so. I think if you've taken the Safeguard, is there a better turn in the game apart from now to play it? I don't think so.
One of the other options I think was Damage Stegatron, which would arguably be better here. Just for the higher immediate stats, even though it's a relatively understated minion.
Has it got higher stats?
Well, I don't really count the 0/5 that it summoned as being that useful. Wow.
Went to draw. It's a weird draw because I don't know what Flurry would draw that would change this turn, and now he just has one less minion on the board.
I think it's just setting up for stronger plays next turn, because if he plays Safeguard and Tom plays a big minion, he has no way to stop the value trade, which is very bad. You do not want Safeguard to just be value traded.
But he, I guess he won't know he's got Mega Devastator. Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
Quick
Does that summon any
hand
beasts?
check for beasts.
don't think so.
No. There's a quick mate. It's like, wait, beast stuff, things.
yeah.
Oh wait, mage. Never mind.
I don't think Mage ever really plays any beasts.
Eh.
Banana Buffoon, not a
Beast mage was a thing then, to a certain extent. It was like an aggro deck. It wasn't on purpose, but basically, there's the Untamed Beastmaster.
Yes.
So there was a point where,
Oh,
for
yeah.
example, the Ravens, and then
Yeah,
there was the what were the others? What were the other beasts? What was a beast I'm forgetting about?
So you're talking about it, mate.
There was a mage beast.
Nightmare Amalgam.
I'm going crazy. Okay, I'm looking that up afterwards.
All right.
But to the extent that some people put Stranglethorn Tigers in their aggro
Right.
mage list, it was basically aggro mage with a couple of beasts in it.
We could now see the Flurry special that we've already seen today of Omega Devastator and then Dynamatic to just kill the Astromancer. Even though there's an Elec on board.
Please, Flurry. Just to break Darek.
That would be so funny. For those of you unaware, Flurry just forgot that he had an Elec on board when he played a Dynamatic yesterday, and somehow managed to absolutely high roll and kill the opponent's Luna anyway. It was hysterical.
Yeah, he did. Out of the 5 damage, 1 went to his Elec,
Yes.
4 went to Luna, and it was like, okay, Flurry.
Tom, though, despite managing to finally stick a reasonably high-cost minion, cannot find his Conjurer's Callings. Where are they? It would be insane here. If he could just go Khadgar Conjurers, he'd pull miles into
It
the
would be
lead.
insane if he could do anything that even resembles a good turn.
What's the best he could do? Giant?
With this
well, the
into
best is
Conjurers?
fine Conjurers, yeah. Nope.
I think
Snap? Freeze?
I was-
Ice Barrier. to
Yeah, I
protect
was
your
thinking,
health.
like, Ray of Frost always looks fantastic.
Yeah.
But I was actually thinking Ice Barrier because it's, 1, you can play it, and 2, does it heal for more than a Ray of Frost would heal you for?
I think cheap cards is fine, especially with Antonidas, right?
I guess so,
Antonidas
yeah.
officially
Oh, with
OP.
no other cheap cards in hand? Yeah,
Yeah.
you probably...
And the sad trade comes in as the Astromancer was destined for such great things, being sucked into a portal and then transformed into 2 copies of a minion.
And now it's pretty easy. Trade the Elec in, play the Dynamatic, destroy the... I know, you play the Dynamatic first, right? Do the 5 damage and then trade the Elec in.
Yeah,
No overkill.
just do it. Forehead.
Flurry. Also involved in a certain sports brand, if it's just do it.
I guess so. That'd be pretty funny if they changed their brand to just do it forehead.
It'll be funny you're watching people discover that for the first time that don't understand what forehead is.
All right, with the with the Rabble Bouncer being unable to be cleared off, it should be a powerful Conjurer's Calling turn if there was any justice in the world. I guess, however, the next best thing for Tom is Archmage Apprentice double Ray of Frost. Like, Flurry has shown inability to clear off the board. And so I think, I think Archmage Antonidas has a reasonable chance to stick. I like it.
What to do? What to do?
It's going to be a while before these fireballs do much of anything, given that Flurry is at, what, 54 health? But he's got to get rolling at some point. Doesn't even overdraw a card as
Yeah,
well.
I was just looking at that. Stays at 9 cards, which is pretty key considering he needs the calling of the Conjurers.
How does that shake out now? Super Collider into Ziliax does not clear off the Antonidas, which is a bit of a problem.
I mean, Dynamatic will sort it.
Yes.
I mean, part of me thinks he might have to.
Oh man, that doesn't feel good.
Oh wait, yeah, like I just did one Flurry.
Oh, did you forget it was there? I thought you were factoring that in.
I was factoring there'd still be too much health on the
Right.
board, right? And then I looked, I was like, just because me and Flurry are on similar levels of Hearthstone skill.
Right, and
obviously.
ineptitude as well.
Yes. Oh, God. Wow, this is unfortunate here. This is a really good setup from Tom, though. Is he going to have to go for it? I mean, he never does it, right? 'Cause it's on 5. I guess just guarantee the Ziliax onto the... to kill off the apprentice.
I mean, it's literally impossible for the Antonidas to die there. That would never happen.
And that's a lie, but
Literally impossible.
it's not literally possible.
Literally.
More rare frosts for more time and more fireballs.
A lot more fireballs. It's actually just hand space issues that he needs to worry about, though, right?
Well, what about if he could Cone of Cold and then use the Rare Frost to deal the damage, right?
Well, he wants to play Ooze on this turn, right? Is a relatively high priority, I think, given that he can't freeze the face.
But what if he just
And so
doesn't
Ooze-
develop a minion? What if he-
yeah, that's also
Cone
true.
of Cold, Rare Frost,
Well,
Rare Frost, Fireball?
he can't stop himself from overdrawing them, right? Which is, we're given that there are two Conjurer's Callings left in the deck. I think not overdrawing is fairly important.
Do you need the Conjurer's Calling if you're just going to unlimited Fireball into Flurry's face?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think you can do both, right? Like, you can destroy the weapon, you can not overdraw, and you can generate a lot of fireballs.
I guess
I just don't see why you
could
wouldn't stop the overdraw.
Ziliax and then Ray of Frost the 3/2.
You still overdraw a card then because it's twin spell.
Oh yeah.
I think this is by far the best play. Like, I just think that this is fairly likely to be cleared off, and in that instance, overdrawing Conjurer's Calling is terrible.
Does he have to take a silver lining of victory in a 1 in 4 of the brawl being terrible, but the other outcomes are fine?
I
Yeah,
guess so.
Yeah. I mean, can he just keep letting Antonidas do things? I don't think so. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, that's very good.
Reactor core online.
Flurry ahead on board yet again, but without a Dr. Boom or even any bomb shuffling cards at all. It's getting difficult.
Can't even conjures
Flurry.
anything good this turn.
Yeah. Giant ping?
No, I think he goes Ziliax trade. Khadgar conjures.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
I say not anything good.
This
I
is
mean
better.
the
This
big
is
boys.
better. Yeah, this is way better.
Yeah, you've just seen Brawl.
Oh. Duskfall and Aviana have a free card, mate. I forgot that was even in standard.
Oh, great playing around BGH though.
Does this Blastmaster Boom still have no boom bots?
I mean, if he isn't playing it, I imagine so. But also, the bots don't even have rush.
How have these series of Mage versus Warrior gone from both players doing the most absurdly powerful things to this garbage that both players are doing? Like
Both players have given a single noodle, and
Right,
they're slapping each
exactly.
other in the face with it and wondering why neither one's dying.
Like, Tom has obviously done something very powerful now. He's got 7 cards left in the deck. Of course he's doing powerful stuff now. He's drawing his whole bloomin' deck.
Decks normally include powerful cards.
Yes, the good ones at least.
Yeah, you'd hope so.
But the crazy thing is that even though Duskfall and Aviana, there's a reason why it's one of the worst cards in Hearthstone, in this instance, it's kind of insane. 0 mana Pyroblast. Boom, boom.
With 2 fireballs as a follow-up.
Yes.
What, 23 damage with the ping just from hand? That goodbye armor. How do you like me now?
I honestly think if I had to write down every card I know in Hearthstone from memory, Duskfall and Aviana would be like the last one. I just would not remember that.
You do not exist.
Yeah.
And Dr. Boom, or Blastmaster Boom, should I say to be specific, has nothing.
Oh my lord.
Wait.
This is a happy image. This is my happy place now. Is all these 0 mana cards.
I'm trying to work out what is even correct to play a 0 mana there.
I do not know. Everything is disgusting.
So much mana. But imagine Flurry draws second brawl.
With the Galaxy, with the Luna's Pocket Galaxy as well. This is like when Homer goes to hell in The Simpsons. He's like, "You like mana, eh? We'll have all the mana in the world."
So that turn was Sea Giant, Conjurer's Calling, Ray of Frost, Luna's Pocket Galaxy, and all Flurry can do in response is wave a big game hunter around and play a Cloud Goblin for 3 mana. Oh, jeez.
I've got the beast in my sight.
Imagine showing someone who's just in 2013 installed the beta of Hearthstone, and you're like, right, this is what comes later. Prepare yourself. This is what we're doing in 2019.
And then like they basically go on a Terminator journey of going back in time to do something to Ben Broad so Hearthstone doesn't get created. Because this is just too mind-boggling. Xavialis is still on the board.
I know, this is...
It's just lethal. It has to be lethal.
10.
It's 23 damage just in hand.
24. It's just lethal.
Tom
had no chance this game. But Flurry just ran out of everything.
Hope being the #1 thing he's ran out of right now, because that was shocking.
And while we have been having a little bit of a giggle here, mate, with these last couple of turns from Tom, there was some very real decisions that led to this point, specifically from Flurry. Playing the Omega Assembly on turn 8, was it? For just 1 card, obviously. Yes, it kind of tided him through to be able to spend his mana until he got to the point where he drew his bomb cards for Blastmaster Boom, but he completely ran out of stuff.
Yeah, and the big thing for me was it was played on a turn that he was almost never going to play the mech that he got from me.
Yeah.
So then if you're in that level of desperation, outside of a bulldozer, can't you just do it next turn?
Yeah.
And maybe next turn you have a draw where you don't need to do it, and then turn 10, sweet, 3 mechs. I just think like if there was no other cards in his hand, or it was that and a shield slam, and that's his hand, fine. It feels bad, but do it. But his turn was the removal turn, the same turn he did it, right?
Well, the interesting thing was, it was at 8 mana, and he had the ability to go Blastmaster Boom, Shield Slam.
Right.
Obviously, it summoned no Boom bots, but I question his thinking was because in order to save the Blastmaster Boom, he had to draw the bomb cards, have the time to play them, then play Blastmaster Boom the turn afterwards for maybe just
and
2
not
Boom
die.
bots. Right, exactly. And I think maybe just playing the 7/7 there was just better, right? In the vast majority of cases.
I've definitely seen Boom played proactively in worse situations than that. You know, in situations where the proactive Boom as a 7/7 is bad or not as good. And that, I think, Shield Slam tempo game, and then next turn, maybe you draw something that gets you there. Turn after you go, okay. The past few turns sucked. I have more cards now and I have 3 mechs that maybe you can make something happen. It was a strange play to the extent that I did just pause and go, it is turn 8, isn't it, and not turn 10. It's very, very weird. And like you said, Flurry ran out of gas and paid for it, unfortunately, in the most hilarious of ways.
He did. That was pretty absurd with the Dustfall and Avianas. I'm glad we got to see it, though. It's been a little while since we've had truly silly outcomes from the Mage. And on Tom's side, he blooming earned it at that point. Like, he got through the whole deck, both Conjurer's Callings right at the bottom. It was almost slipping away from him. And if Flurry had been able to find the Dr. Boom Mad Genius, or even just a little bit of extra value off of another Omega Assembly, he might have been able to get over there in the very weak turns from Tom leading up to it. But he was able to get the power turn he needed and take it through to a victory.
He did, and both players are sticking on the same deck. Not too much of a surprise if you've been keeping up with any level of Grandmasters lately, because the decks are just out. Instead of the sideboard style of decks of secondary and tertiary being, oh, you know, maybe this versus aggro, this versus control. Right now, it's very much my counter warrior deck, my counter mage deck, or my counter rogue deck. And that's often how it has gone in the majority of deck building decisions from these players.
Yeah, I don't anticipate that will change too much as well. Like, there's been some splash damage in terms of the classes represented, because like the anti-rogue decks tend to be good against druid, the anti-mech hunter decks can be good against like mech rogue or something, but generally you're just putting in one sideboard for one class. Pretty simple.
Yeah, and I think funnily enough, with I would put the number of decks, of top decks being 3. It means you have primary, secondary, tertiary. If we had a meta where there was 5 to 6 different decks that were completely different archetypes, or at least different enough archetypes, then maybe you'd see a little bit more hedging of these different deck buildings. But also, it's normally good to do extremes of something if you're going to commit.
In this game, however, Tom already on turn 3 presented with a very tempting proposition of, well, double Ray of Frost, Coin Mana Cyclone, Evocation Mana Cyclone. I mean, I think he's trying to count if he would overdraw cards in that instance. But I think he's come to the conclusion, we good. Or is he saving the second Ray of Frost until after, because that means he won't overdraw cards?
If that's what he does, I guess so.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Speaking of the words draw and cards being in the same sentence.
Wow, this is
draw
a lot of
cards.
card draw. That was fantastic for Tom. Outside of Conjurer's Calling or the Power of Creation, it's obviously the real high rolls.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
Look at the hand, and you could argue sometimes outside of Research Project, Tom just generated him a solid hand for specifically this deck in this game.
It's true.
Like, more card draw, Fireball's fine to deal with some of the early aggression if Flurry decides to go a bit heavy with the mechs early on. Like, yeah, sign me up. Good.
The problem's really just hand size issues. He can't really draw at the moment because he doesn't have enough room in his hand to do so. So the magic trick into a counterspell makes a lot of sense here to try and get some of these cards out of his hand.
Well, Ooze looks... Oh, he's going to Fireball. Job's done. This Ooze is too tactical.
He just needs to pass the turns. Like, all he has to do is tide until turn 7.
I was like, I think Tom's doing a bit more than just passing the time with competing in GM.
Oh, sorry.
No, you said turns. It's just I thought you were going to say time.
I think I did say pass the time. Or did I say pass the time?
I think you said turns. There's a lot of stuff going on today.
Yes, I'm forgetting how to speak what I said.
And forms of
Keep
blue.
blue.
You will not heal for 0 this turn or deal any damage to me.
Well, yes, and also just it's the least valuable card in his hand.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what. It was just funny. Okay.
Sorry. Ha ha ha.
I don't need your pity laugh, Derek.
Well, you got it.
Well, okay.
I'll take it back.
What now?
That was backwards.
I got it.
Good.
Ha ha.
You weren't laughing.
Ha ha. Sorry.
Thanks. I don't need your pity laugh.
I'm not going to take it back. I'm rude. No. Flurry? Honestly? Oh, well. He knows... Oh, no. He knows the secret isn't entity. So I was going to say, I just play Boom.
He's learned his lesson.
Yeah, I like this.
My calculations are flawless.
Yeah, I like that too.
Tom likes that.
The
Flurry cannot add a maneuver.
And then he draws Wrench Caliber into
And
Clockwork
Bomb.
Goblin.
It's like, okay.
Something's not right here.
At least he's got BGH for the 9/6.
Yeah, and I mean the big card's the Brawl, right? Because as soon as a single high-value minion is left on board for Tom, Khadgar Conjurers, poof, instantly hits the board.
The problem he's got is working out this secret because to me, BGH, Hero Power Shield Slam, Go Face looks great.
Yes, he knows that it's not
Entity, and that's it, right?
entity splitting image.
Wait, does he know it's not splitting image?
Yes, because he rushed into.
Oh, sorry.
the minion.
Yeah, he tagged it. And that's it, though, right? So it can be Spellbender, which messes with the Shield
that's
Slam.
it, yeah.
It can be Counterspell, which messes with the Shield Slam. So he probably isn't holding his breath that the Shield Slam goes off.
Yes.
But at least he knows now.
Like the value trade here as well, just because at the very least it can delay the Conjurer's Calling.
Also, as well, we saw Tom use the Ray of Frost earlier, so there's not really a great way to deal 2 damage. No Frostbolts in Tom's deck.
Very good point. Unless it was one of the plethora of generated cards.
Which, great.
Yes,
Because you don't
exactly.
play around those cards, right?
I wonder.
Job done.
And that's a lot of damage, Tom.
What were you expecting?
I don't know.
because he had no way to counteract
maybe
the damage.
apprentice draw and see what happens.
It's just a little passive.
Isn't this?
I mean, it's very susceptible.
And I
at the
promise
very
you,
least.
I'm not even looking at the BGH at this point. I just think that the odds on him having something
I
decent,
guess
or
so.
just going face, or just trading, then you've thrown away a big minion to Conjurers.
Yeah.
Because he can't Astromancer Conjurers this turn coming up.
And even with the rushing burly Shovel Fist coming down, Flurry is now just in such a dominant position. Like, the value trade Blastmaster Boom has been insane, just as a 7/7.
Even now on top of that,
Oh.
I'm surprised he didn't go for Rabble Bouncer, Khadgar, Conjurers.
Really? That's way too much damage he's tanking then, right? He's just dead. He's just
well,
dead.
I'm just working out. Yeah, I get. Working out if there's taunts, but
Beat
I think you have to just get this there. However, that is just going to be game over with Hero Power Shield Slam, no secrets, 18 damage. Flurry's
Boom.
taking it.
Flurry, yeah, that's just gonna be game. Tom.
It seems like
Fall
such an
asleep.
anticlimactic end for a Dusk Fallen Aviana game with 0 mana Pyroblast being slung around 50 damage in a turn. It turns out in the end, the War Golem, the Blastmaster War Golem, that's
Just good
the
enough.
win.
I think honestly, as Flurry takes the series, that was a very, very good play.
That was the winning
and
play.
there was a potential. At least Flurry got there because he could have made a similar play in the previous game, and it wouldn't have just won him the game, but it could have, right? He would have had something more.
Yeah.
He would have saved the assembly and maybe got to turn 10. But yeah, congratulations to Flurry as he takes the series. That was a nutty one, but maybe not so much in the last game. It ended pretty quickly. But yeah, there's a tough fought series, and Warrior is going to end the day 3-0 over Mage. But let's check out all the results from Sunday's Hearthstone. We had what feels like a decade ago, Frosty versus Rivius.
Oh my god.
With Rivius taking the win. And let's just, we can talk about each matchup specifically if we really want, but for me, I'm looking at Warrior was in every match today and only lost once, and that was 1 and 2. Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts, especially over the Mages. A triple victory. Shaxi, okay, that was
We'll give him a
expected.
pass on
The
that one,
Control
yeah.
Warrior is very, very well positioned against the Mages. But for Surrender and Flurry, a very nice hybrid, I think, of aggressive play sprinkled in with some of the removal options, showing, I think, the general game plan very nicely against Mage, which is you want to curve out and you want to supplement that with your tech cards.
Yeah, and I think a highlight for me as well is, yes, I know everyone watching, Warrior mirrors, Warrior in general, so on, so on, so on. But I think if we've learned anything today is that the depth and level of understanding of matchups you need as Warrior, and how easy it is, because it's powerful, it can be very easy to not make the right play and lose control of the match and the game. And I feel like there are so many intricate small things that happen from turn 1 that the deck is, yes, very powerful, but also not exactly just an autopilot to win a lot of games with. Let's check out the standings, and after that,
Wow.
look at
Oh
both
my
groups,
God,
but let's
both
look at Division
sides.
A. There's Aluteam and Surrender 8 and 4. They are looking reasonably solid, but what's funny is everyone up until Tom and Chonsu can be 8 and 6. Oh, okay,
That's true.
maybe not everyone, because it depends who plays who, right?
Well, anyone has the potential to go.
Yes.
They can't all go 8 and 6,
Yeah.
but yes, anyone out of those.
Yeah,
could
there's
go
a
8 and
potential to go
6.
8 and 6 is what I was after, yeah. So, Division A is going to be almost 100% decided next week. There is no guarantees for anything until next week happens.
Yeah, we'll have to have a good in-depth look at how it can work with tiebreakers, how it can work with match standings as well. But like, I think even Tom has a chance, right, being able to go 7 and 7 if like everyone else drops down. Maybe it's not possible at that point with everyone at 6 and 6. But either way, everyone at 6 and 6 at the very least is going to be fighting out for that 3rd place.
Yeah, and Chonsu can obviously get some wins under his belt to help out, but he's not going to be able to make it. And I will say as well, for me, Chonsu was the most varied, as well as maybe stubborn with his deck list. I mean, he was playing Token Druid early on and took some losses, and then I think he did it 2 weeks in a row.
Right.
And it was just like, oh, if you, I'll say, risky pick doesn't work 1 week, do you expect it to work the 2nd week? I don't know. Maybe the fallback onto a stronger deck would be more consistent for Chonsu. Chonsu is a very good player. someone has to be in the bottom.
Yes.
That's the way a league works. But I think there's definitely a learning experience from some of the players who have had not the best time in the world. And Division B, although not as nutty as Division A, there's still a lot up for grabs there, as at minimum that third place spot is still very gettable for many of the players. But we are done for the day, Derek. We had a lot of Warrior fun today. It is Sunday, so the 6 matches were pretty sick, but there's tons more Hearthstone coming up, just not from us. You're done. So check out Europe if you want to stay awake, depending on where you are, and then going to be followed up by Americas as usual. Thanks a lot for watching, and for this week, we're going to say goodbye. See you later.